Hey, this is Don. I just wrote down some notes, just some thoughts, I guess. Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth. When men began to multiply on the face of the earth. Well, I was born in 1967, and at that time the world's population was only 3.5 billion. It's now almost 8 billion. So I would say that in my generation, men began to multiply on the face of the earth, like Genesis 6. 10 is clearly the Gentile number. So it will probably reach 10 billion for a world population before 2033. Why do I say 2033? Because according to the Nezi rapture theory, which is 2000, you have 2,000 solid years of the church age, if you count from Pentecost to the rapture. You had to have the church beginning to form when the Holy Spirit came down on the day of Pentecost, and in order to get 2,000 years of a church age to fulfill Scripture, those 2 days, you'd have to have 2033, 2034, sometime after that. So I would look for how close are we going to be getting to 10 billion. I would say 10 billion is probably going to be the number before the rapture, and then the Lord comes in during the tribulation. I mean, between the rapture taking out a lot of people, and then the tribulation taking out billions and billions of people, he's going to have a healthy number for that tribulation, for them to be wiped out. Just the second advent alone, you have 200 million wiped out. But when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and Genesis 6:2 says that the sons of God, those were angelic beings, saw the daughters of men, humans, that they were fair. I wonder if that's a reference to, as in the days of Noah. Will women become more and more fair, better looking as we get closer to the end? I think they have been. I mean, if you're honest, look back in history. Look back to the women of the 1920s, 30s, 40s. Not exactly, bathing beauties, or however you'd want to say it. I mean, they just weren't that hot, you know what I'm saying? And then came along, we had the 70s, which brought along, those of you who are my age, Farrah Fawcett and Charlie's Angels. They were actually considered the hottest thing in the world. I mean, people were just going nuts over Farrah Fawcett and Charlie's Angels girls. Whereas now you look back, I don't even know if they'd get a date. I mean, let's just be plain here. In the 1970s, wow, so much better than before. And then by the time you got to the 1980s, 1990s, who thought Charlie's Angels or Farrah Fawcett were anything anymore? They weren't. And I'm just simply making the point of, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man, things being repeated, Genesis 6 taking place all over again. It says, sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, they were good looking. Is that saying that that's going to be the case? They're going to get better and better looking? I don't know. I mean, every word in the Bible, has a meaning. It's important. And it says that these sons of God, these angels, that they took them wives of all which they chose. And they cohabitated with them. It goes on to talk about how the angels were mixing with humans. And you had angels mixing with animals, where we get the mythology about the satyr, the half goat, half man, or the centaur, the half horse, half man, or the mermaids. Or perhaps, did you ever think about this? Dinosaurs? How come we had these giant lizards back then? Where did these giant lizards come from? Well, if we had 6:4, Genesis 6:4 says, there were giants in the earth in those days. What's that in context with? Well, it says, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare them children, or bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Within that context, when angels cohabitated with humans, the result was giants. Well, if they cohabitated with reptiles, could that have produced giants as well? Why not? There's your dinosaurs. Oh, what's the mystery of the dinosaurs? It's just reptiles that were cohabitating or being forced to cohabitate with angels. Or the offspring of angels, perhaps. And when you see those bones in the earth, oh, we found bones of these dinosaurs, that disproves the Bible. No, it doesn't. I think all it does is it proves Genesis 6. That's what I think. Angels with humans created giants. Why wouldn't angels with reptiles create giants? So, angels not only cohabitated with whatever, but were translated into men, weren't they? According to Psalms 82. I think I'll look that up real quick. Psalms 82, yeah, the angels became trans. Psalms 82:7, start in verse 6. I have said, ye are gods. These are these fallen angels. All of you are children of the Most High. They were sons of God. But, verse 7, ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. The angelic beings would die like men because they would become like men. They would lose their first estate. When they mixed with women, they turned into mighty men. Did you see that in Genesis 6? So they were translated into men. Their offspring took a human egg or human DNA, however you want to say it, and translated it into what you see in 4:6 or 6:4, which we already read. There were giants. They became something else. They were half angelic, half human, kind of like half man, half woman. They were translated into something else, an abomination, not what they were created to be. And their offspring were an abomination They were half something else, not what God had created, not what they were supposed to be. Angels were going trans. Humans were going trans. For all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. All flesh. You know, that's a mouthful right there. All flesh. That includes the animals. I believe they are flesh. Through their relations with angels, animals were going trans. Even the animals were going trans through the angels as well. Trans, the prefix, to change or transfer. Similar to transgress, transgression, transgressor. Or how about translucid? Translucid. Lucid, like Lucifer. Will Satan manifest in the flesh as the Antichrist or trans-Lucifer? Maybe he'll, as the Antichrist, he'll be trans-Lucifer. Daniel 11:37. Let's look at that. Daniel. I want to rip my pages. Daniel 11:37. Talking about the Antichrist. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women. Now, Dr. Ruckman speculated that maybe the reason why he wouldn't have the desire of women is because he'd be a sodomite. Maybe it would be because he would be trans. Isn't that what we see going on? Maybe he'd be whatever they call him, transgender. He'd be a transgender, and that's why he wouldn't have the desire of women, though he's a man, clearly a man. Perhaps being a Syrian, Jew, Catholic, man, woman, human God, he'll be the perfect melting pot. Well, that seems to appeal to men these days, doesn't it? America was never supposed to be a melting pot. That's not what God created. It's not what God set up. It's not what God wanted. But it's become a melting pot, totally leavened, totally mixed, totally confused. Perfect setup. Genesis 6 is the days of Noah, which Matthew 24:37 says will be like the last days. Luke 17:28 says that the days of Lot will also be like the last days. What were the days of Lot like? We just read about the days of Noah. What were the days of Lot like? It was Sodom and Gomorrah, was it not? Sexual confusion. Daniel 2:43 says that the situation going on in the days of Noah will indeed come back in the last days. Let's check that out. We're already in Daniel. See, there's a lot of interesting things in Daniel. You don't have to go into Daniel and mess it up in order to teach a 3.5-year tribulation theory or a 10-year tribulation theory or whatever. The Bible's interesting enough as it is on its own without you messing it up to try and make it interesting. 2:43. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they, that iron, shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, Did you know that in Job chapter 40, verse 18, 666, it describes bones of iron associated with Satan? That iron mixes itself with miry clay, the seed of men. But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. It's going to be some messed up souls, some messed up spirits. They're not going to cleave one to another. It's just going to be a disaster. But it's going to go on again. Those angels are going to try and mix their seed with the seed of men. However that worked, or works, or will work. The trans trend is just Satan preparing humanity for what's up ahead. Get them used to just mixing things together indiscriminately. You don't see just a man or a woman all the time. Sometimes you see something that's just something else, or identifying as something else. So when the angels come down and they're doing Genesis 6 all over again, people will be a lot more accepting of it. Right now, 1.6 million people over the age of 13 identify as trans in the U.S. alone. According to the American Journal of Public Health, quote, future national surveys are likely to observe higher numbers of transgender people. This thing is going to increase. It's going to get higher. I would say eventually you're going to be looking at least 13 million people over the age of 13 will identify as trans in the U.S. alone, if I was to guess. Will a future pope be trans? You ever think about these things? A future pope? Trans? Maybe becoming that man of sin who becomes the Antichrist? The Vatican will need to outdo themselves after the soon retirement of Francis, who's getting worn out. He's getting sick. They're getting ready to replace him. The Guardian, which is called the news website of the year, called Pope Francis, quote, a vital progressive voice. On gay marriage, Pope Francis simply responded with, who am I to judge? He was on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine and on the cover of The Advocate magazine, the Sodomite magazine. The Roman Catholic whore will need a new set of lingerie, will it not? Yes, she will. That Roman Catholic whore will need a new set of lingerie to keep her clientele attracted to her. She's not going to be able to wear the same old thing, and she's not going to be able to wear what she was wearing years ago. She's going to have to kick it up a notch to keep the clientele. I think that will have to be the case in order to do the trick. I guess we'll see, won't we? Just some thoughts.